welcome again to another Friday, Fantastic Friday webinar on all things extended care and supplemental benefits and the like. Today's webinar will be a little bit different than the rest in the sense that I don't have a featured speaker, and that's on purpose. I do have some issues that I wanted to just discuss with us, the whole group, so that everybody's up and informed on the different things that are happening. And frankly, once in a while, I think it's important to take a time out like this and step back and sort of look at all the things we have been discussing and the carriers and their messages and everything else. So again, our mission statement is right below. We're committed to the professional growth and financial success of our specialists and brokers by supporting them in their efforts to help their clients protect themselves against the potentially devastating, life-changing cost of needing care. And to interpret it, that means we are here to help you grow your practice in any way that's not illegal or immoral, that we can help you. We are here to do that. I want you to call on me or call on some of the others within our team here, or within NAIS, or within the broker or carrier companies themselves, to help you. We're all here to help you do that. I get very few calls like that, but I hope it's nice to know that you have a support team behind you, but it's still up to you to take advantage of. All right. So as I said, we have fewer slides today, but that's because I'm going to take a little bit more time on each slide, because I feel like we're missing some of the important things that come out to you, especially after this call when you get the replay. You get all these emails with all these attachments, and I suspect that many of them don't get opened. And there's such jewels in those attachments that you're really missing out on stuff. So I'm going to try to elaborate just a little bit more today than normal, just so you'll be motivated to open some of them up. All right. So here's what we're going to talk about. I'm starting a new agent training program on Monday. Anyone who wants a refresher or wants to attend, all you have to do is send an email. We'll send you the pre-training package, and you can starts Monday at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Runs for 4 days, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, just like we've done in the past. But I've been working on back to basics for those classes, and so that's sort of what spurred me to want to make this part of the theme of today. I'm going to share with you some updates from the carriers. I have 4 or 5 of those. Some from ideas from the fields and from the vendors, people that are sending me ideas and sending me stuff I want to make sure you know about. Some news you can use. Again, when I say news you can use, this is news that you should be able to send to your clients or send to your databases, or anyone that you think might help bring the conversation back to the top of the pile for you to engage in a conversation with them. So hopefully you're using some of those articles for such things. And then I'm going to finish with something a little different. I'm calling it Once Upon a Time, There Was a Story. And this goes to my belief that the best way for you to communicate with your clients, especially in an interviewer's position, is through stories, not statistics, not the features and benefits of a policy. Stories. People relate to stories much better than they do anything else. And I want to, and that's a science and an art. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit, and we will as we go through the webinar. So let's get started. First of all, congratulations to all of us. We're winning. And you say, what are we winning at, Mark? We're winning. 2.5 years ago, we started out to change the long-term care solutions business permanently, to advance it. And everybody scoffed and said, what are you talking about? That'll never work. But slowly but surely, we have been invading the zeitgeist of the long-term care profession, and people are finally coming over to what is what I'm convinced, at least, is the future for how people are going to solve their problems or solve their challenges with long-term care. So this week, I got an email from Thrivent, and in it they said, Thrive featured in Think Advisor. That's a magazine, and I'm going to send you a copy of that you'll have. The title of the article is "Why Extended Care Planning Remains Critical for Women." I'll share the actual article with you, but that's the key right there. They're calling it extended care. We are making headway with many of the carriers in calling these products what they truly are, which is extended care versus short-term home health care or traditional long-term care. And that's just a result of us continuing to beat that drum, that's a much more accurate title for what this stuff is. And I wanted to congratulate all of you for being part of this, because you are changing the LTC world with this. And I expect more and more products to start using that title for the kind of protection. Unfortunately, the consumers are going to be the last to catch up to it. So we need to find ways to communicate that the short-term home health care and the traditional long-term care are really extended care when you think about them. All right, but congratulations, everyone. That's a sign of progress. Okay. I am going to have a new agent training next week. I've got about 8 to 10 people already scheduled for it. I'm going to run Monday to Thursday, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, 10 to 12 Eastern Standard Time in the morning, 2 to 4 Eastern Standard Time in the afternoon. We're going to be focused on the OmniFlex product and the Manhattan Life home health care featured products, along with their Lighthouse portfolio of supplemental products. So if that's what you want to know about more, then you can tune in just for that section if you want. But again, if you haven't gone through our new agent training program before, because I know a lot of you come from already being inside of NAIS, I highly recommend it. We're going to give you a structured path to go down the road to be able to make the contact with the client, set up the appointment, deliver an interview as an interview field underwriter, as the role you're supposed to be playing. And when I say playing, it's not a game, it's the role you're supposed to be inhabiting here as an interview or field underwriter. We show you how to do that so that you go right down the path, right down the funnel, and it leads you right into the taking of an application, right? If you want to be part of it, send me an email sometime today, tomorrow morning or whatever, and I will send you the pre-training package. You'll have to get yourself up to speed so that when you come on the call on Monday, you'll be where everybody else is. But I didn't want you to be denied and the opportunity. And whenever we run a training, and we'll run another one in June, whenever we run a new agent training, you will always have the opportunity to attend and get a refresher. We've had many of you do that in the past, and it just brings, it's no different than going to basic training before you start the football season, or spring training before you start the baseball season. It's important to sometimes go backwards to repeat the fundamentals and get better at what you've been doing. Okay. Some carrier updates. 4 in particular: Mutual of Omaha, Guaranteed Trust Life, Manhattan Life, and Willoughby. Now, these come in literally up to the minute of when these webinars start. So again, I add them as they come in, but they're not I don't always have a chance to make a big fancy design of the slide because it's an ever-changing thing. So that's why it's also good to look at the replay of these webinars, because there might be additional carrier attachments that weren't even in yet, and then I find out about them after the webinar and I attach them to the email I send out with the replay. All right, but let's talk about these 4. If you're not opening up the Moo Express, which comes out every week, you're missing out on all kinds of stuff. First of all, it covers all the different Moo products. I show you the long-term care section, but there's a life section, there's a Medicare section, there's they have a dental product, there's all kinds of other information in there. So you're missing out if you don't open it up. The 2 things from today I thought were pretty good. Long-term care insurance products updates. they are going to change the amount of money that you can qualify for or get as a benefit. On June 3rd, they're going to move it from $10,000 to $15,000. So you'll be able to get up to $15,000 a month if you use the new product starting on the 3rd of June, which is probably something that all the other carriers will soon follow. I don't Life and inflation and everything else has changed so much that they need to make for a larger allowance of money to be available to you. So I'm glad to see Moo is making that change, because they're a leader and others will follow. And then they put together a new long-term care cost of care calculator. I know a lot of us use Genworth, and there's nothing wrong with that. And Genworth in particular is a favorite because it'll let you drill down to the prospect's zip code to be able to determine what their cost of care is going to be in the future. This lets you go down to the state, and it shows you what the cost of care is in the state. But if you're looking for something fresh, these numbers, literally, this just came out. They're going to be as up to the current marketplace as anything else out there. I am sometimes suspect. I love the Genworth calculator. I'm just sometimes suspect as to how much they keep it up to date, because they're not selling a product at the moment, right? Where Mutual of Omaha is, and they're constantly on top of making sure the latest data is in there. So if you click on these blue lines, they'll open up those things, and you'll be able to see that. Again, this will be in one of the attachments on the replay of today's webinar. GTL had a few things out this week that I want to make sure you're on top of. One is they're adding an critical accident benefit rider now in Michigan. So this is, I think, available in other states as well. But when the GTL product's a little bit different than the other short-term care solutions, in that it covers specific illnesses and gives you a certain amount of money for each one of those illnesses. And then depending on the program you choose, you can get up to, I think it's $450 a day max. So you can be collecting for multiple reasons and get $450 a day. They also added, at no additional cost to the client, a $3,500 caregiver rider, which will in effect pay a family member to take the time to go out and help you find the best care. And all that has to go into making that decision and determining how that. So they will pay well, whoever you decide should be your family assistant planner or whatever. They'll pay them that $3,500 fee. And again, they didn't raise premium to do that. If you have any old GTL policy holders out there, every one of them are entitled to it, but they can't get it simply because they want it. They have to reapply for the policy, and that way they have the version that has that $3,500 fee in it. It won't cost them any more. It'll be protected at the age they applied, but you do have to go through the motion of submitting the new application that includes that. And then they had you'll see a second attachment that it's sort of like a library of all their products. And in particular, I've sent you links before that show you the supplemental products and the short-term care product. This one shows you all their life products. So you click on the Get to Know GTL's life products, and you'll see their brochures, and you'll click on it, and you'll be able to pull any of that information whenever you want. You should save all those brochures or those links, and always have them at your disposal so you can access all this stuff. Manhattan Life always sends out stuff on Friday mornings, and that's why they get added here near the end. This is not a fair representation of everything that's in this Manhattan Life Espresso. There's a whole lot of other stuff in there as well. But a couple of things I wanted to make sure you saw. The OmniFlex short-term care does have the home health care rider in it, as we all should know. And it increases over the first 5 years, just like the facility care does. So both go up. It starts out at 50%, then 60%, then 70%. And by year 5, you're at 100%. of all the benefits. And so you should know it works exactly the same way. And um, again, you can also add an inflation rider to it so that the benefit will increase by 5% each year for the first 5 years. So anyway, it's something that you should be aware of. The other thing I saw in their newsletter when I was reading it is that Walmart, and this is not news to some of you, but I've just learned about it in the last week or so. Walmart has decided to close down all of its healthcare clinics. So any of you who've worked, we have a program with Walmart with 5,000 Walmarts around the country where you can go in and represent under 65 insurance or the prescription medication prescription programs on some of these plans that we offer, and then turn that into a conversation where you can introduce other products. And usually you get a place near the front of the store, either a booth or a table, or you can arrange to be by the pharmacy. And so as people are leaving the Walmart pharmacy, you're able to say, hey, would you like to see how I can save you a bunch of money on those prescriptions you just got? And you can show them the programs, and that can lead into discussions about other kinds of supplemental products like vision and health and hearing, and cancer products and final expense and who knows what.
Mark,
So
can I say something when you're done?
is it going to be in chicken talk or is it going to be in English?
No, it's about that Omniflex inflation protection.
Okay, go ahead.
So I was just, I met with a client, and I thought the inflation protection, would begin from year one. But when I read into the information deeper, it said it doesn't start increasing until year 6.
Yeah, 6, once the product has matured, that moves up the inflation. That's right. But you can get it. Not everybody offers you an inflation benefit rider. So read more into it.
Well, it says right here, just like nursing benefit, the home health care benefit also enjoys 5% annual increase for the first 5 years.
Right. That's true.
But it doesn't. It doesn't start growing till year 6.
Well, here's what I'm going to suggest to you, because I've heard this both ways too. Our featured product on next week's New Agent Training will be Manhattan Life for the Omniflex product and their standalone home health care. We'll have the national sales director on there, Jack Broughton. You don't have to attend the whole training to just come to his session, and I would come to him and ask him to clarify that.
Well, you can kind of see it on that page in the brochure that shows the 5-year wait, and then it shows the inflation protection. And you can see that the inflation protection doesn't start until year 6.
No argument. No argument for me.
I got myself into, that's one thing. I thought I had picked through this thing with a fine-tooth comb, and I hadn't. And so,
well, actually, it kind of does. It kind of does. If you can explain to them that what I say is, this is like your Social Security check. The longer you wait to use it, the more you're going to get. So the benefit actually starts out at 50% year one, and then it continues to increase 5%. So it does start, but they have to know the day one benefit is half if they were going to use it within the 5 years. So it does continue to stair step up, but then if you buy the inflation rider from year 6, it continues to grow so that it doubles.
Thank you, Lori. And again, yes, I think there can be some confusion with the language, but I will make sure everyone knows when there's 2 sessions, one on Tuesday and one on Wednesday with Jack Broughton, who is the national sales director for Manhattan Life. He's going to cover the standalone home health care on one of those sessions, and he's going to cover the Omniflex on the other. And if you want a refresher on that, just come on to the call at that time, and you'll be able to not only see what the latest and what latest states they're in, but also ask these kinds of questions. Okay, because I too have learned my lesson that every time I think I know what something Manhattan Life is doing and I answer it that way, I later come to find out that they're changed the way they interpret it. So I'll leave it to you. I'm just going to keep sharing. This is out of their bulletin. So I know this is not me saying this. This is them putting this out this morning, and I'm including it here. Wellaby. I don't know why we haven't taken to Wellaby better. I'm guilty as charged too. Everything about Wellaby's product I like. And they seem to be more aggressive than anyone else and wanting to help you cover expenses to help you market stuff. They'll pay for your mailings to your database, to your clients. They'll cooperate with you with all kinds of other marketing ideas if you bring it to them. You absolutely should be developing a talking relationship with Michael Gatorna, because I have yet to find him unwilling to do anything that makes sense and talking with him. He has his own podcast. It's on Tuesdays, Tuesday Talk. I think they're doing some more things along these ways of the ways they're going to help you market. So it's today's. I saw one of the messages was when to close a client's folder. So again, most of us haven't. I don't know if any of us has taken advantage. You can correct me right now if it's not true, because you have taken advantage of the fact that they will pay for a mailing or an email blast to all of your database and all your client base. Or if it's a direct mail campaign, I think they'll pay for it. So I think they're extremely anxious to partner with agents to do everything they can to help you make sure you know that your clients can get the Wellaby, formerly Medico, product through you. And again, Wellaby pays more money for the facility care than any other short-term care product out there. You can get $500 a day through the Wellaby product, as opposed to $400 with the Omniflex and $400 with the Aetna, $300 with the Cigna. GTL pays based on the actual illness you're suffering from. Wellaby is going to deliver the most benefit, and it might probably cost a little more because of it, but you get what you're paying for. So I just think everything I've learned about being in this business for 35 years tells me this is a friendship and a connection you want to nurture. And that's my thoughts on that. But again, if you go to his Tuesday Talk thing, you're going to learn something all the time. And if they get opportunities, they're going to come along, and you're going to be the person they think of most when you have a talking relationship with them. So take advantage of that.
Mark,
All right. Yes, sir.
Could you send out the notifications for Wellaby and the Manhattan Life specifically, and the times that we could join?
Yeah, it's attached to the replay. And again, all of these people are on the database I've sent you many times,
Right.
with all the content. So you can feel free to call them direct too if you want to talk about something specific. You have all their access, emails, and numbers, and do that. But the email itself promoting the Tuesday webinar will be on the replay of this webinar.
Thank you.
Hey, Mark,
Yes, ma'am.
I would love to have, and maybe we can do it on the Saturday morning, a session where we kind of collaborate and go, well, this is good with Wellaby, this is not good with Manhattan Life. I was on one of the calls the other day with Wellaby, and they said their claim to fame is they're home care centric, they're home care based versus the other ones are facility based.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly sure what that means, but
It means
I'd
you
like to
probably
go
buy
back and forth.
you probably buy the home care product as the primary, and then you add the facility. As opposed to all the others, you buy the facility and then add the home care as a rider.
Yeah, but what does that buy me? I mean, like, who cares in my mind?
Well, not everybody buys the home care rider when they get the Manhattan Life Omniflex product. They just get the facility care.
Okay.
So not everybody buys both of them, or to the same extent. Again, one of the things that have become popular with the Omniflex is they'll buy the Omniflex policy for the facility care. They'll buy the home health care rider that you can get with the Omniflex product, and then they'll turn around and buy the Manhattan Life standalone home health care. So they get all three policies. What does that do for them? Well, when they get to the restoration period, they can use the Manhattan Life's standalone home health care product, and that fills in those 100. They'll get a 180-day program instead of a year-long program for them, but that will fill in those days for when you're on restoration. So again, there are clever and creative ways to use all this, and when the situation is right, I highly recommend that they get all three. I can tell you, just last week I got all three. I have the Omniflex Home Health Care and the Omniflex standalone rider for the home health care, but for the facility care. And then I have a standalone Manhattan Life home health care product. There can be value in doing all three. And there can be value, we'll elaborate this on another call, but there can be real value in getting multiple policies, because these policies pay on top, in addition or on top of each other. They don't, because you're collecting from one doesn't mean you can't collect from the other. So if I get sick, I've got one major policy that's going to pay for all my care, and I've got three others that are going to pay a cash benefit to give my wife a income, close to what she would have had if I was still working and not sick. So I'm using it as both a way to address my cost of care, and then a way to address, the incomes that we'll need to have in a household, so she can continue to, live at the same lifestyle we've always lived at. And you can use the programs to do that, because they pay cash, they pay, without any regard to whoever else is paying you, and you can use it. You can pace them out. You can use them all at the same time. There's all kinds of things you can get creative with here. So always good to learn about. Let's go to leads. We've been working on this lead program with the 4 now agents who have been testing it, and what brave agents, courageous agents they've been. We finished the first month. We're about to start the second month coming this Monday. Again, the agents, we found we could generate some inexpensive leads, but they weren't converting at the level that we thought we needed to make the program work. So I've shared with you now that we're making some changes. Well, the changes that we're making reflect some changes that are lessons that Lead Concepts has learned by working in other areas of the senior benefit products. So they're using a similar program where they're advertising on Facebook and getting people to request more information or a quote or to talk to someone in the Medicare space. And they're getting a much more fruitful response rate to that. And now we're taking the same things that they're doing there and applying them to our extended care campaigns. And the most important thing about this is that the prospect is going to, in effect, click on a button for more information on extended care, and the call that's going to go right to the assigned agent for that territory. So instead of having to respond, the agent gets a copy of the response and tries to track them down, which we were having very little success with. This time they're going to go straight to the agent from the time they click on the link to get more information and be able to go through the health qualifying, talking, and setting up for the interview right from the start. So we're anxious to see how this works. Again, they've tested it with success in the Medicare side, so we're pseudo optimistic that this is going to work.
Mark,
so,
I have a question.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
seems like the email that we got from Lead Concepts indicated we're going to have a phone number. I'm just wondering, when we get calls from people, is it going to show up as their personal phone number, or will there be like a phone number that's going to show up on the caller ID so that we know that it is the lead?
It's going to be a phone number that shows up on your caller ID, and it's going to have the same area code as your territory does, as your area is.
Okay, that'll help.
So, all right, so that it will come up as a local call to you, even though it's not, they're just being rerouted that way. But what that does, it allows Lead Concepts to track how many leads go to each of you so that they can then track each person's individual conversion rate.
Okay, great. I
We'll
like that.
test it. We'll test it. We'll see what happens. Who knows? It's always going to be a work in progress. I can tell you that. Again, even if we find something that's a grand slam home run, it's not going to stop us from continuing to try to find a way to better it. That's the way the game's played, because programs have a lifeline to them, or shelf life to them, and they get tired after a while, so you have to continue to change it to make sure that you're still bringing in leads that convert at an affordable ratio that makes it worthwhile for you. It's not the cost of lead, it's the cost of sale. And every which way we can find to get you the best leads so that you're making multiples on your sales based on what the cost was to get that lead, that's when we have a winner. Doesn't stay a winner forever, but we have a winner, and we milk that winner for all it's worth until it shows us that it's gotten tired, and then we have to have new programs to keep coming out. And that's why being in business with us to do this is the right thing to do, because you've got an experienced team of people behind you that know how to analyze this stuff. And we'll keep you, you'll have an advantage in the marketplace because we do it this way. So that's what to look forward to. And the people that are in the program, again, you'll start to see these come Monday, and we'll be following what kind of results you're getting. I expect these leads to cost more money. Not more money to you. You'll pay the same thing you paid for the advertising, and we'll compensate you the same way we did in sharing in the cost. But I expect that the cost us, where the other leads were $3, I'll be surprised if these leads don't end up costing us $20. Right? Doesn't matter. It matters how you convert them. We can take $20 leads all day long as you're converting them. And that's what we're trying to get done here, is get you more quality leads that convert. Okay? All right. My phone doesn't stop vibrating here. Talking about Lead Concepts. They put out a newsletter every month, and they constantly are sharing the lessons they're learning from what hundreds of other clients are doing. It's invaluable for you to be able to see what that is, and then ask yourself, how can I apply that same psychology to what I'm trying to generate when it comes to leads. So here's a newsletter, and their lead article in it, but there's many articles in it, and I've attached it to the replay of this, is debunking cost myths and strategies for success off of Facebook advertising. And that's what we were using for those other lead generation programs, was you were posting advertising on Facebook, right? And they go into, and this is just a tiny part of the whole article because there's no way to put it all on, but again, open up the attachment and you'll see this article, and you'll see many other things from Lead Concepts that is working, that there's no reason why you can't call and say, hey, I see you have this Medicare program working, or this vision and dental program working, or this cancer insurance program working, and say, what more can I find out about that? What more can I learn from that, etc. Develop a relationship with Michael Pineda. He's our account exec at Lead Concepts. They'll be at the conference in July. And it's Chris Weir, who owns the company, and you'll find that you can piggyback on things that are successful for other products and either make them work for you or apply them to what you're trying to do with extended care or other supplemental programs. All right. I'm going to come back, by the way, to you, Sharon, in what it is we like to do when it comes to bundling products. I agree with you. There's some advantages to seeing where the synergies are between all of us and the products we like to offer, in addition to the extended care product. What matches up well, what your thoughts are, and what you like, what's your pivot to go to, and and say, well, you know what? I always like to add dental and vision, or I always like to add a cancer product, or if they're older, I always like to add a final expense. We're going to work on doing that. I've already got the wheels in motion, but I want all of us to sort of share our list too, but more about that as we get a little further in this. All right, starting this coming Monday, May 6th at 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock. Kevin Ristel, who is the new VP of Life Sales, is going to have a webinar and where he talks about all the different life products. He's been super successful in the life market for quite some time. He's a VP and oversees that division. I found him to be a very, very interesting guy, and I can assure you that most of those products, those life products, have some clause in them where you can use them in case of you need long-term care, whether it be as a built-in long-term care policy, or as an accelerated death benefit, or as an additional pool of money that can be used for long-term care. So it might be worthwhile, or if you do sell life insurance now, to see what Kevin's been doing and generating the substantial upper end six-figure income he does by representing the life products. And then on Tuesday, I believe it's on Tuesdays, you'll see that Andy is going to start his own conference every week, just like we're doing here. He's going to have his own one on Medicare, under 65, ACA alternatives and the like. It just seems to me that marketplace is in such a state of flux at the moment with all these changes. Andy is probably your best source to keep up with all that. So I know some of you like to be seminar happy, so you'll have these two new seminars. Should have gotten an email about it yesterday to sign up for them, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention because these are good people, and there's lots of stuff that can be learned from them. All right, some news you can use. This stuff is meant for you to be able to send to your clients or to your databases or to use in any other way that you see fit, to make the most of some of these articles that are out there that they might not find any other way. So this one was from LinkedIn, and it was on the LTC News, and it's basically as America ages, the demand for quality long-term care has increased, right? And here's the link to the article: access to quality long-term care insurance and inflation, and the inflation impact, or the impact of inflation on long-term care. Long-term care costs and expenses are inflating at a multiple quite higher than traditional inflation. And as we all know, traditional inflation has been high for the last 6 months. Well, if you're going up 4, 5, 6% in inflation, you can bet that long-term care is going up 8, 10, 12, 15% or more. I know that the ability to hire caregivers, their premium or their salaries have increased 14% just since the beginning of the year. Well, again, you can't continue to address the risk that people will have if the cost of getting care in the very near future is going to be so much more, because you can't be paying people more than 14, 15% more than you were paying them and charge the same thing for those services. So prices and rates are going to go up. Again, I share this with you for twofold. One, I think that's a great article to send to your clients or to your database for people who haven't made a decision yet. And two, it's an even more important reason to check with LTC News all the time. You could go to LTC News. You'll constantly see brand new articles on a variety of topics that should be of interest to anyone that has shown interest in long-term care before, and it makes a good email blast for you to send to your database. So take full advantage of that. Let me come out of here, go back onto the slide that was there before. Ooh, that wasn't it. Oh, all right. This is the article that we were talking about that in the beginning. This is the Think Advisor article where it talks about the importance of long-term care or extended care planning, which makes me even happier, and why the information about that is critical for women. So if you've got several women in your client base or database, this is a good article to share with them. And it goes with it. And they use the phrase extended care. So you have access to that here. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second as well. And then this is the article that I'm going to actually use to we're going to talk about at the end of our call today. This is an article that appeared in last week's Wall Street Journal. Millions of Americans' kids are caregivers now. The hardest part of that is I'm only 17. Well, this is caused quite a commotion, people responding, etc. to it. It is impacting the kids because a lot of the time the caregiver responsibilities are falling to the kids, and what that can mean. And several people started to share their own stories about this, and that's what we're going to talk about at the end of our call here today, how to use an article like that and what it means for the rest of us and what we can do, to Sharon's point, on a Saturday call to sort of help improve the kind of stories that motivate people to take action. Guys, I don't know what to do about this because you don't let me know. Lori let me know that she wrote $3,760. Lori, was that Omniflex or short-term care?
One was a hospital indemnity and one was a Omniflex.
Okay, so again, Lori is extraordinarily versatile. She constantly is writing supplemental products to complement her long-term care solutions practice. And there you go, 2 examples of doing that. Mine was part of what I told you just a little earlier. This was a standalone home health care product from Omniflex to add to my other coverage that I have as another way to generate dollars that could be coming in to not only, I have more than enough dollars coming in for me to be able to take care of my care, but this is going to give additional revenue that can replace the revenue that I would normally be bringing in, since I'm now getting care, and allow my wife to maintain a lifestyle she's grown accustomed to. All right. Anybody else write any other business? I can't believe that none of the rest of you aren't writing business, but you're just not sharing with me. You've got to be sending in business. I know it to my bone that you are, and yet I'm not hearing about it, so I can't celebrate you. Please, don't tie my hands on this. Let me know. Okay? Anybody want to share anything before I move on? Okay. I don't know what to make of that. All right. Observations from the field. I've got a few, but I'd like to hear yours first. Anybody have any interactions with any of the carriers this last week? Any of the webinars that you were on? And we're talking to any of the carrier reps or anything else as a lesson learned that you'd like to share with your fellow solution specialist? Anyone? Unmute and tell us about it.
I'll talk. I ran across, and I think there's a lot of them out there. If you deal with financial advisors, a lot of people, like 20 years ago, put people in these variable annuities that they've just let roll, and they're worth a lot of money. Like I was cousin, she put in $60,000 and now it's worth $450,000. Okay.
Wow, nice.
I know. Good on me. I did it when I was a financial advisor. So, but now, we've gone through the accumulation. She's 70. She had a stroke about 4 years ago, but she's fine. So I'm trying to figure out, and I'm looking for advice, how we can split these big annuities up, like into like one for long-term care for her, maybe one to generate income. It would be having to do, I think, partial 1035s, which might be an issue, but has anyone run into that? Because I think that's a niche if we can figure that whole side out.
Anybody want to comment first?
Talk to One America. Get a PPA so that her gain isn't taxed when she takes it out for long-term care.
Yeah. Walter's right about that. And
So I
There-
could only 1035 it into the One America annuity though, right?
Well, talk to Keith Birkin. See, they can get creative. I had a situation where they were pretty creative
Okay,
on how they did it. Because, you know,
I think
they,
you can, I can
they-
think you can do some of it into asset care too, which is their life product. So
yeah, you can't, if you, it depends on who will do partials. You know, the VA
Right.
company itself may not do partials. So just have to figure out how to do it, how to split it up once they get it, you know?
right. Right.
So yeah, that's a good conversation. That'll be a valuable conversation for you.
I would
Yeah.
love to delve into this easier because I think there's a lot of this out there. And if we can figure
Mhm.
this
You're
out,
right. You're absolutely right. There is a ton of that. There's a ton of that money out there, not only variable, but other other annuities as well. So
correct, correct.
yeah, billions and billions and trillions, I guess, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, that's
So,
That's a good question. But that would be a great one to lead the way on. You'd be awesome.
and who's speaking? Sorry.
Walter
This is
Garth.
Walt.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe that's a Saturday morning talk, Mark.
It could be a Saturday morning talk too. Don't let up our Saturday mornings, or they're going to run into Sundays there, Sharon. But okay.
Well, that brings up the question of the Facebook guys,
Yeah.
you know, and a lead program of do you have an existing annuity? And older folks who have an existing annuity that they don't know what to do with, or it's their rainy day fund.
I know they've done stuff in that space, so talk to them and get the lessons from them. It's not going to cost anything for you to learn what they've already learned. So,
That's a good idea. Okay,
all right.
let's do that.
Yeah. The Alita.
Yes.
Don't sound so enthusiastic to talk to me. Jeez.
I said yes.
I know you did, but you said like, yes, what does he want?
No,
Alita, you shared with me last week that you had an Omniflex policy that you sold a little over a year ago, and they already made a claim.
yes.
So talk about observations from the field. How did that feel when you were able to help that person with, just in such a short time?
Well, it was totally out of the blue. When I wrote her, she was on one inconsequential medication. So for this to happen, I feel it was totally stress related, but she is so thankful that she went ahead and got her plan. I initially wrote her on True Freedom, but then I switched over when Omniflex became available. So my motto is you can't predict, you can prepare. And I say that at my Marana Chamber meetings and at all of my other networking groups.
You can't predict, but you can prepare. That's great.
Yeah, anybody, feel free to take that.
Okay, I just did. You can't
Yeah.
predict, but you can prepare. Okay.
And then, of course, I add
Well,
to it, see Alita Weiner for Medicare and extended care.
Okay. So, but there's a perfect example. Guys, we're all in this business. Yes, it's to make money, no doubt. We're all in this business primarily, it should be, to help people with this difficult solution, this difficult challenge they have as to how's the best way for them to address how they're going to put a plan together to take care of their situation if any of them ever need care. And when you actually have a claim, there's nothing more satisfying to a true long-term care solution specialist than seeing what happens and the impact that it has on your client when that claim comes, because it's a game changer for them. Again, we've talked about this before. What did you get for the hour and a half or so you spent with the client? Maybe a commission and some renewals. Nothing wrong with that. That's great. But the life you touched and the life you changed by giving them a solution that could step in and pay for their care when the time came and they needed it, you've made a difference in a person's life in a major way. And I know Alita, when she told me about this, you could hear the satisfaction in her voice that she knew she had done good. That's the kind of thing that you should be not only aware of, but looking to share on calls like this and our Saturday call, because that's what it's all about. You know, if you made widgets, again, I don't know how much pride you take in the widgets that you made, but if you actually help people put a plan in place and then 10, 15, 20 years, or in this case, a year later, they need it, you are a hero.
Alita, that's a great story. Alita, that's a great
Yes.
story, because I have a lot of people who think that they're on, you know, they don't have any meds or just a few meds, and they're just going to wait a year or going to, you
Yeah,
know.
right.
So thank you. We need that. We need those stories. Can you share with us what happened to her a year later?
Well, she
Said it
had
was stress. Did she have a stroke or something?
several strokes and a heart attack, and we almost
my
lost her
gosh.
last
Okay.
week.
Lucky she's
Well,
alive.
I'm going to
She's
use that
still in
story.
the hospital and will be for a while, but oh
But-
God. Well, I already went to see her and she was just so thankful that she had gone forth with this plan. So
Well,
was
now-
I. Oh my
Now's the
God.
time to get her to write that down on your website or put it down somewhere where you can print it in one of your emails or letters, or now's the time to make sure that again, you celebrate these kinds of how you've been able to help her. I mean, third-party testimonials, legitimate third-party testimonials, are the most powerful way you can communicate the value and benefit of this program, which all three of you just gave me a great lead in to what we're going to talk about today. I wrote this little piece, or I read a piece like it, and from that extrapolated something that I merged with another story that I saw happen this week about what it was like to be a caregiver, especially a teenage caregiver, like you saw in that story from the Wall Street Journal. And it got me enthused again to talk a little bit more about the importance of storytelling. Too many times, specialists, after doing this for a little bit of time, get caught up in sharing statistics, sharing value that the people can see in the policy, meaning the financial value they can see in the policy, and they lose sight of the emotional side. And I've spoken about this many times, but what occurred to me when I read that story in the Wall Street Journal is that the best way for you to communicate this stuff to your clients is by telling a story, not reciting, this is what happened and how it happened, but to make the story, make what happened come alive through a story. People see things when they hear a story through pictures in their mind. A long time ago, and I've shared this with you a few times before, sometime in the 1960s, I was still 10 years old or 11 years old, whatever. I read a book called Psychopictography. I don't even believe it's in print anymore, but you can still probably get old copies on it on Amazon. Basically, the whole premise of the book was that if you talked in pictures, people internalized the stories and it triggered the emotional motivators in them, as opposed to trying to appeal to the logical motivators in them. Because whether you want to admit it or not, and whether you want to agree to it or not, I can say to you with absolute certainty that the reason people will move forward are the emotional triggers that you can best activate by sharing a story. because they see themselves in that story. So Abe and I have a very good friend named Peter Gelbwax. And Peter is an icon in the long-term care business. He was 7-time chairman of the National LTC Network. He had a large agency in South Florida. He spoke at every meeting and convention and the like. And he had a story he loved to tell, which is part of what this is about. But he was extraordinarily successful, multimillionaire, sold his practice for 8 figures. Again, he's a real hands-on guy. And so I wanted to share with you what I learned about the science of being a better storyteller. And then Peter read that story in the Wall Street Journal, and it triggered a story he used to tell because he became a caregiver when he was 17 years old. And so the Wall Street Journal article brought all that back to him. He wrote it out, he posted it on Facebook, and he got inundated with requests, mainly from other long-term care specialists, FMOs, carriers, and everything else, saying, Peter, this is can we use this story with our agents? Can we share this story with our agents, etc.? And as I said, both Abe and I are probably both 2 of Peter's most closest, dearest friends. And so we said, well, Peter, we're not giving this to the competition. I want to be able to use it with our agents. And he said, sure, what the heck, go ahead, do whatever you want with it, because it's, that's what the reason was. And in the heyday of long-term care, this particular story that he went through was never failed to get a standing ovation at any conference, always was working to penetrate the zeitgeist of the prospect because they could relate to the story. So here's my sense on how to best do that, and then I'm going to share that story with you in the form of attaching it to the replay so you can read it for yourself. But I'm going to share with you right now. This is going to be the theme of tomorrow's meeting. What was just suggested by Lori and Monica and Sharon. We're going to talk about the best stories that we like, that we use when we're interviewing. And then we're going to talk about and we're going to share those stories so that everybody else can pick up on them and then share the stories they like. And maybe by doing so, we can actually advance those stories so they become even more effective. So let's talk about storytelling so you can be much more effective in how you communicate.
Mark,
Yes.
I am emailing you the story so that you can more easily disseminate it to the others.
Good. You give it to me. It'll be on that attachment with the replay of this webinar.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that, Alita. Ever wish you could tell one great story and when you finish, prospects would say, wow, then buy your product? That's the purpose of a good third-party story. Because again, when you tell a story about someone else, it's not you selling the story. People relate to it, they see it, and they see it as something that's allowing them to buy, as opposed to them being sold. When you tell a story about you, it makes it feel like you're trying to sell them something. When you tell them a story about a third party, then it's received much differently by the person hearing the story. Peter Gelbwax, as he said, owned a large FMO in South Florida, and his fame was that he was a really good storyteller. And there have been a few of them. Guy out of MetLife named Jim Jordan, extraordinarily successful, and all he did was tell stories. He'd come to these conventions and tell stories, and people could relate to the stories. And he was always at the very top of the table in the $1 million table club, at the very, very top, and made a very good living in the life insurance business, being a great storyteller. They actually coined a phrase called story selling, as opposed to, so that you'll see me relate to that here. But again, I don't like the word selling, and so I'm going to change it to where it says story interviewing and field underwriting at times, because that's who you are. I don't want you to think of yourself as a salesperson. You're an interviewer, field underwriter. And that gives you, because you take that position, that gives you so much more power than if you were a salesperson, right? So the purpose of these stories is for you to paint images that people can then relate to and see themselves in and know of other people that were in, so that they can relate to them on a personal basis, as opposed to something they saw on television or something like that. And so you keep that in mind, what you're doing, but then you want to weave into it, what are the things that you think that if you told in the story are going to compel people to want to take action to buy? So here's my interpretation of the art of storytelling. First of all, many of you probably said, well, I don't know any great stories. Baloney. Every one of you have great stories. And sometimes it's just how you fine tune them. And if you were one of the rare 1 in a billion person that didn't have a great story, you got plenty of stories that you can borrow. I have told you to ad nauseum the story of my mother having a cash policy to take care of my father. That, you know, that's my transition story, and it has led to a lot of people. It opened up a lot of eyes on people saying, yeah, now that I hear that, I never realized I could use this that way, and to do things. But every one of you have a story like that, and we just need to help you polish it so that it is even more effective. And if we combine all those different stories and we identify the strengths of those stories, we'll be able to come up with even better versions of the stories. I see our Saturday calls as a variation of a mastermind group. And that's why I want to start using the Saturday calls to do these types of exercises with each other, so that we all get better because of it. So we're going to start sharing. I'm going to start asking you to share the stories that you've used best in the field and why you like them. And everybody will be able to hear them and then enhance upon them and talk about them, and we'll be able to improve them. So this is more of a reason for you to attend the Saturday morning 9 o'clock Eastern time call that only lasts a half hour, but usually goes a little longer. And to just get better at this skill set. Because each time one of you tells a story, somebody else will be able to add to that story, and then the story will grow and the story will enhance. And then people will say, well, I think that's an unnecessary part of the story. And so people will delete things and fine tune things, and it'll evolve. So here's the way you should start to think about how you tell the stories. You want something that has some kind of controversy in it, some sort of drama. You had a bad interview. You talk with someone and it led to a bad experience. Well, that's a great way to grab someone's attention when you're sharing that and telling a story. Everybody listens to the story and then starts to tell you the things that they picked up on that they thought were particularly effective or not. And you take notes so you can then improve upon the stories that you're already telling. Stories can get stale if they're done for a long time. They don't have that same freshness they had when you first started telling it. And this is a way to keep you aware of that and help keep it fresh. People will tell you what they heard on these stories, that they thought, now that was the compelling statement that makes me want to go from, hey, this is an interesting story, to what do I got to do to apply? Right? What was the saying you just said before, Alita? I can't know, what was it?
Can't predict, you can prepare.
You can't predict, you can't prepare.
No,
See?
you can't.
You can prepare.
predict.
You can prepare.
You
That
can
should be,
prepare.
yes, that should be a t-shirt all of you are wearing starting next week, because that's the truth. You can't predict, but you can prepare. All right, those are the kind of little nuggets you'll pick up from these tellings, these stories, and that's good stuff. Every time you tell a story and the others get to critique it, again, you'll be inspired to move your story forward, and as I said, that will help keep it fresh. Your stories evolve into a final form that you'll have the confidence that when you tell that story, it's going to resonate with your clients consistently in a way that's going to motivate them to take action. You have the choice as you interview to decide what kind of story you want to tell because it fits the particular circumstances that the client has been sharing with you. Here's just a few examples of them. Getting the appointment story. I had an appointment, you start to tell a story about where there was some difficulty in getting an appointment or how an appointment came to you. Stories that help build rapport because the client already shared with you that they've had a similar situation. Stories that add credibility to what you do. And again, I'm not going to read all these to you, but all these reasons are reasons for creating a story. Again, I've shared it with you before. I'll share it with you real quick now. The most successful interview I ever gave is not to a person who made an application. It was to a person who had not seen a doctor in 20 years. And when I said to him, this was back in the Amex Life days, and I said to him, well, in order for you to be considered, you're going to have to go see the doctor while your application is in process before they're going to make a decision as to whether or not they can approve this. And he agreed, and sure enough, 2 days later, he called me and said, I got the appointment with my doctor. I went and saw him. And I want to tell you, thank God for you. You saved my life. He was in tears. I said, well, that's what happened. He said, I got diagnosed that I had middle stage prostate cancer. And I hadn't seen the doctor in 20 years. I probably would not have gone to see the doctor if you hadn't encouraged me to do so. The doctor says he thought they caught it early enough that I'm not going to die from it. But if I hadn't gone to the doctor because of you encouraging me to do so, there's no doubt in my mind I'd be dead. So as far as I'm concerned, you saved my life. And I wanted you to know that. Now, I didn't get a sale from that. And I was never invested in whether or not I would. I never go into any interview thinking that this is all about me getting the sale. And if you do that, you got to really take a hard look at why you're doing this business. I go into every interview so that everybody can make the decision of the three choices that they have. What's the best way for them to address their specific risk of needing care? And if it's to self-insure, fine. And if it's to transfer all their assets so that they can qualify for Medicaid and the government will pay for it, fine. I have confidence that 2/3 of the people I speak to are going to decide the best way for them to do that is to transfer the risk to a multi-billion-dollar insurance company with experience dealing with this. And I can live off of that all day long. So my investment is not in, are they going to make an application? My investment is in, now that you know what your options are, what's your plan? And when they tell me that their plan is to transfer the risk, then that's when I tell them, or that's when I ask them why. And they sell themselves. They tell me why. And I just listen to their why. And if their why is a convincing why, I now understand why they want to go ahead and do this. And there's absolutely no reason from that moment on that I don't assume they're going to do it, because they just told me this is the best solution for me and here's why. And they sold themselves. I didn't sell them a thing. It's powerful. It works. But again, in this case, it works the opposite way. It was not a client that was going to benefit from getting a plan, because they certainly weren't going to get one when they were still hadn't addressed the prostate cancer. But it made a huge difference in that person's life. And that is the best kind of satisfaction of all. All right. So tomorrow, I want you to bring your most effective stories to the call. And we'll tell stories. Let's not make them too long, a few minutes each. And again, we'll critique each other's stories. Attached to this email is my friend Peter's and Abe's friend Peter's response to that Wall Street Journal article, the title of it being "Millions of American Kids Are Caregivers Now." The hardest part of that is I'm only 17. An estimated 5.4 million children help care for relatives as families can't afford to find other in-home care. Right? There's the link that will take you to the article so that you can share it in an email blast with your clients to get them to raise their hand and even want to talk to you about it. And then here is the email that Peter wrote and posted it, and then got all these calls from all these long-term care professionals saying, can we use this story? Can we share this with our agents? And I'm doing that with you, right? And this is just a partial. Peter's a lot of wonderful things. Short-winded is not his thing. He elaborates a lot. He talks in very colorful, and I mean that in a positive way, not, foul language or anything. He talks in a very colorful way that his stories paint pictures. And as a result, those pictures are what people relate to. So you will see his whole response on the email. I think you'll see what I mean and what it takes to tell an effective story. So you'll see that total response. I can probably get Peter to come on a call sometime with us in the future if you would. He's an extraordinary man. And Peter, Abe can attest to that even more so than me. But we'll talk about that down the road. Let's just start thinking about stories and how we can best utilize them. All right. So any questions on anything we talked about today? I thought I had a shorter call, it would go less time, but it seems like it's already gone an hour, 15 minutes. So I guess I can't get out of my own way. We end up talking longer than I expect that we will. Work on telling more stories. I'm telling you, there's no better friend you can have in our business. Tomorrow, the call starts at 9:00 Eastern Standard Time. Same exact link as today, except it's not necessarily a webinar. I don't have anything to show you as of now. I might have things by tomorrow morning, but it's a conference call-like discussion. And anybody have any comments or questions about anything we discussed that you'd like me to address before we bring this call to a close? Boy, just you wait 5 seconds and it seems like forever, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm going to assume that's a no. Then that means everybody should go out and create a great day. And I hope to hear many of you tomorrow at the 9:00 call. Until then, take care, everyone.